Chapter 1. Stop letting the world decide your attention. The war for your mind. We begin here because this is where the battle is won or lost. You have likely spent years blaming yourself for a lack of willpower. You think you are lazy or unmotivated because you can't sit still for an hour without checking your phone. I am here to tell you that it is not a character flaw. It is a casualty of war. We are living in the middle of the greatest heist in human history. It is not a heist of money or gold. It is a heist of human attention. Every time you wake up and reach for your phone before your eyes are even fully open, you are not making a choice. You are responding to a stimulus that was designed by some of the most brilliant minds on the planet to ensure that you do exactly that. Distraction is not accidental. It is engineered. Think about the infinite scroll. There is no end to a social media feed because human psychology dictates that as long as there is no stopping cue, we will keep consuming. It is the same reason why casinos don't have windows or clocks. They want you to lose track of time. Your phone is a portable casino, and the currency you are gambling away is your life. Repeat this phrase: what you don't defend, you lose. If you do not defend your morning, the news cycle will take it. If you do not defend your work block, notifications will take it. If you do not defend your presence with your family, the infinite scroll will take it. Focus is not a gift. It is a fortress that you must guard with your life. The engineering of the quick check. Let's look at the quick check. You know what I'm talking about. You are in the middle of a task, maybe you're writing a report, or perhaps you're just trying to read a book, and you feel a tiny itch. It's not a physical itch, it's a mental one. A thought pops into your head: I wonder if anyone emailed me back. Or, I should check the weather. Or, I'll just see what's happening on Twitter for 30 seconds. That 30 seconds is a lie. Even if you only look at the screen for 30 seconds, the attention residue stays with you for up to 20 minutes. Your brain is still processing that headline you saw, or that comment that annoyed you, or that photo of someone else's vacation. You have effectively severed your connection to deep work. The engineers in Silicon Valley call this variable rewards. It's the same mechanism that makes slot machines the most addictive game in a casino. You pull the lever, you refresh the feed, and you don't know what you're going to get. Most of the time, it's nothing. But once in a while, it's a hit, a like, a message, a breaking news story. That unpredictability keeps you coming back. You are being trained like a lab rat to obey the chime of a notification. You must realize that every app on your phone that is free is actually the most expensive thing you own. You aren't paying with dollars. You are paying with the hours of your life that you will never get back. The reactive life versus the intentional life. Most people live reactively, not intentionally. What does a reactive life look like? It looks like a pinball. You wake up to an alarm on your phone, and immediately, you are looking at notifications. You are reacting to what happened while you were asleep. You go to work and you spend your day putting out fires. You respond to every email the moment it hits your inbox. You attend meetings that could have been memos. You are busy from 9 to 5, but at the end of the day, you look at your to-do list and realize you didn't move the needle on any of your big goals. This trains your brain to obey interruptions. You are teaching your neurons that the most important thing is the newest thing, rather than the most important thing. Contrast this with the intentional life. The intentional person knows that their attention is a finite resource. They treat their focus like a high-performance engine. They don't let just anyone put fuel in their tank. Think of the modern professional who is always connected. They have Slack open, 3 email accounts on auto-refresh, and their phone on the desk. They feel productive because they are multitasking. But research shows that they are actually losing 40% of their productivity to task switching. They are busy, but they are never effective. They are running a marathon on a treadmill, expending massive amounts of energy but going nowhere. Now, think of the master craftsman, the elite athlete, or the visionary CEO. When they work, they are gone. They are unreachable. They are in a state of deep work. They have decided that for the next 2 hours, the rest of the world does not exist. They aren't reactive, they are proactive. Repeat this. Discipline is subtraction. You don't gain focus by adding more tools, you gain it by saying no. You say no to the quick catch-up meeting. You say no to the urgent email that isn't actually urgent. You say no to the urge to check your phone while you're standing in line. Focus begins with refusal. The myth of the small distraction. We often tell ourselves that a small distraction doesn't matter. It's just a text, we say. It's just a 10-second video. But there is no such thing as a small distraction. Every distraction is a leak in your bucket. If you have 10 small holes in a bucket, it doesn't matter how much water you pour in. Eventually, the bucket will be empty. Your mental energy is that water. Every time you allow a distraction to enter your space, you are telling your brain that your current task isn't worth your full devotion. You are weakening your focus muscle. Over time, this muscle atrophies. This is why people find it hard to read a book for 30 minutes anymore. Their brains have been conditioned to crave a hit of something new every few seconds. If you want to regain your focus, you have to stop the leaks. You have to stop letting the world decide what you look at. Defending the perimeter. How do we start defending our attention? It starts with the realization that your environment is currently set up to make you fail. If you want to stay focused, you have to build a perimeter. First, you must audit your notifications. Most people have their phones set to interrupt me whenever anyone in the world wants something from me. This is insanity. If you were trying to write a masterpiece, would you stand on a street corner and let every passerby scream in your ear? Of course not. So why do you let your phone do it? Turn off every notification that isn't from a real human being who needs an immediate answer for a life or death situation. You do not need to know that someone liked your photo. You do not need to know that a news site just posted an opinion piece. Second, you must create analog zones. These are times and places where digital distraction is physically impossible. Maybe it's the first hour of the day. Maybe it's your dinner table. Maybe it's your bedroom. By creating these zones, you are giving your brain a chance to breathe. You are reclaiming your territory. The price of a scattered mind. Why does this matter so much? Why am I being so aggressive about focus? Because the quality of your life is the sum of the things you focus on. If your focus is scattered, your life will be scattered. If your attention is directed at trivialities, your life will be trivial. We only have a certain number of days on this earth. If you spend 4 hours a day on mindless distraction, which is the national average, that adds up to 60 days a year. 2 months of every year are being deleted by distractions that you won't even remember tomorrow. Think about what you could build in 2 months. You could learn a language. You could start a business. You could write a book. You could deepen your relationship with your children. When you let the world decide your attention, you are giving away your most precious asset. You are letting Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and anonymous trolls decide how you spend your life. Stop. Stop letting the world decide. Take the wheel. It will be hard. It will feel uncomfortable. Your brain will scream for the dopamine hit of a quick check. But you must resist. Repeat. What you don't defend, you lose. As we move into the next chapter, I want you to carry this mindset with you. You are at war. Your focus is the prize. And from this moment on, you are the commanding officer of your own mind. Focus is not something you have. Focus is something you do. It is a choice you make every second of every day. It is the choice to stay on the path when the forest is full of voices trying to pull you away. It is the choice to finish what you started. It is the choice to be the master of your tools, rather than the tool of your tools. This is chapter 1. The foundation is set. Now, let's talk about why your attempt to do everything at once is actually ensuring that you do nothing at all. Chapter 2. Multitasking is the fastest way to stay average. The great modern lie. We have been lied to. For the last 2 decades, the world has praised the multitasker. Job descriptions list it as a required skill. Resumes brag about it. We see the executive with 3 screens, 2 phones, and a headset, and we think, that is what success looks like. We have been taught that to do more, we must do everything at once. We answer emails while sitting in meetings. We listen to podcasts while writing reports. We check our messages while we are supposed to be connecting with our loved ones. We have turned our brains into a mental highway with 10 lanes of traffic all trying to merge into one exit. I am here to tell you that multitasking is a myth. It is a biological impossibility. Your brain does not have the hardware to process two cognitively demanding tasks at the same time. What you are actually doing is task switching. You are rapidly flickering your attention back and forth between two different things. And every time you flicker, you pay a price. Repeat this phrase: what you split, you weaken. When you split your attention, you weaken your intelligence. You weaken your creativity. You weaken your memory. You are not doing more. You are doing many things poorly, and you are doing them at a fraction of your actual potential. The cognitive tax, the cost of switching. Let's look at the science of the switching cost. Researchers have found that when you switch from one task to another, your brain doesn't make the jump instantly. There is a lag. A part of your mind stays stuck on the previous task. This is called attention residue. Even if you only look at an email for 5 seconds, a portion of your cognitive power stays on that email for minutes afterward. If you are writing a document and you just quickly check a text message, your brain is now divided. You go back to the document, but your subconscious is still processing the text message. You aren't working with 100% of your brain anymore. You're working with 70%. Then, 10 minutes later, you check a notification on your phone. Now you're down to 50%. By the end of the day, you haven't just worked 8 hours. You have spent 8 hours in a state of mental fog. This is why you feel exhausted at 5 p.m. even if you didn't finish any major projects. Your brain is tired from the constant start-stop friction of switching. Imagine a car. If you drive a car at a steady 60 miles per hour, the engine runs efficiently. But if you slam on the brakes and then floor the gas every 30 seconds, you will destroy the engine and waste a massive amount of fuel. Most people are driving their brains by slamming on the brakes every time they hear a ping. They are burning through their mental fuel and wondering why they aren't reaching their destination. The dopamine trap. Why multitasking feels good. If multitasking is so bad for us, why do we do it? Why does it feel so addictive? The answer is dopamine. Our brains are hardwired to seek out novelty. Every time you switch tasks, every time you see a new headline, a new like, or a new email, your brain releases a tiny hit of dopamine. It feels like a reward. It makes you feel busy. And in the modern world, we have confused being busy with being productive. Multitasking creates a feedback loop that rewards you for losing your focus. You feel like you're doing a lot because your brain is constantly stimulated. But stimulation is not the same as achievement. You can spend an entire day multitasking, responding to 100 Slack messages, checking 50 news articles, and skimming 5 reports, and you will feel a sense of manic energy. But at the end of the day, when you ask yourself, what did I actually build today? What did I master? What did I finish? The answer is often, nothing. You have become a world-class switcher, but you have stayed an average producer. Shallow work versus real progress. This leads us to the difference between shallow work and deep work. Shallow work is the stuff that keeps the lights on but doesn't change the world. It's the administrative tasks, the easy emails, the routine meetings. These tasks are often multitask friendly. You can do them while your mind is half somewhere else. Deep work is the work that matters. It's the strategic thinking, the creative problem solving, the high-level coding, the writing, the learning of a complex new skill. This work requires 100% of your cognitive capacity. It requires you to go deep into the well of your mind. If you are multitasking, you are living permanently in the shallow end of the pool. You can never reach the depths required for mastery. Shallow work creates shallow results. It creates work that is easily replaceable. If a machine or an entry-level intern could do what you do while distracted, then your work has no moat. You are not building a competitive advantage. Real progress requires sustained, unbroken attention. It requires the ability to stay with a problem long after the fun of the novelty has worn off. Repeat this: depth beats speed. The world is obsessed with speed. Everyone wants the hack, the shortcut, the fastest way. But the fastest way to stay average is to try to do everything quickly and simultaneously. The elite realize that the fastest way to get to the top is to go deep on one thing at a time. Single tasking, the superpower of the elite. In a world of fractured minds, single tasking is a competitive advantage. Think about the people at the very top of their fields. When an elite surgeon is in the operating room, are they checking their Twitter feed? When a professional athlete is in the middle of a championship game, are they thinking about an email they forgot to send? When a master coder is solving a complex bug, are they hopping between 5 different browser tabs? No, they are in a state of flow. Flow is the mental state where you are so involved in an activity that nothing else seems to matter. Time disappears. Your ego disappears. Your performance skyrockets. Flow is only possible through single tasking. You cannot multitask your way into a flow state. While the rest of the world is scattering their energy like a weak flashlight, the focused individual concentrates their energy like a laser beam. A flashlight can light up a room, but a laser can cut through steel. When you commit to single tasking, your concentration compounds. The first 20 minutes are the hardest. That's when your brain is fighting the urge to switch. But if you stay, something happens. You enter the zone. You start seeing connections you didn't see before. You work twice as fast and produce work that is 10 times better. How to practice single tasking. So, how do we break the habit of a lifetime? How do we stop the flicker and start the focus? It starts with the rule of 1. From now on, when you sit down to work, you have one tab open. You have one task on your desk. You have one goal for that block of time. If you are writing, you are only writing. If you are researching, you are only researching. If a thought pops into your head, I need to buy milk or I should check that score, you do not switch tasks. You have a piece of paper next to you called a distraction log. You write the thought down, and you immediately go back to the task at hand. You have captured the thought so you don't forget it, but you have refused to let it hijack your attention. You must also learn to close the loops. Multitasking is often a result of having too many open loops in our brains. We have 20 half-finished tasks, and our brain keeps jumping between them because it's anxious about finishing them. The cure is to pick one loop and close it. Finish the email. Finish the page. Finish the design. Do not move to the next thing until the current thing is done, or you have reached a predefined stopping point. The choice of the average. The average person will listen to this and say, "But you don't understand my job. I have to be available. I have to multitask." This is the voice of the ego trying to protect its addiction to dopamine. Unless you are an air traffic controller or an emergency room nurse, 99% of your emergencies can wait for 60 minutes. The world will not collapse if you don't check your messages for an hour. In fact, the world will benefit because, for that hour, you will actually be doing the work you were hired to do. Average people choose the busyness of multitasking because it's easier than the intensity of focus. It's easy to hop between tabs. It's hard to sit with a difficult problem for 2 hours straight. If you want to stay average, keep multitasking. Keep reacting. Keep splitting your mind until it is as thin as a sheet of paper. But if you want to be exceptional, you must reclaim the power of the one. You must learn to do one thing at a time, with all your heart and all your mind. Repeat this mantra: what you split, you weaken. Repeat this mantra: depth beats speed. As we move into the next chapter, we will look at the physical world around you. Because even if you decide to single task, you cannot do it if your environment is screaming for your attention. You have decided to focus. Now, we must build a world that allows you to do it. Chapter 3. Your environment is stronger than your willpower. The willpower myth. There is a common story we tell ourselves about success. We see someone who is incredibly disciplined, someone who wakes up at 4 a.m., works out, and then spends 6 hours in deep, focused work, and we say to ourselves, "I wish I had their willpower. They must have been born with an iron mind." This is a lie. The truth is that the most disciplined people you know actually use their willpower the least. They aren't toughing it out against distractions every hour of the day. They aren't sitting at a desk with a buzzing phone next to them, forcing themselves not to look at it. They are simply smarter than that. They have realized a fundamental law of human behavior. Your environment is stronger than your willpower. If you rely on your willpower to stay focused, you have already lost. Willpower is a biological resource. It is like a battery. Every time you have to make a choice, should I check my email? No. Should I look at that notification? No. Should I eat that donut? No. You drain that battery. By the time you get to the work that actually matters, your battery is dead. You are mentally exhausted from the silent battle of resisting temptation. The elite do not fight this battle. They end the war before it starts by designing an environment where focus is the only option. Repeat this phrase: design beats desire. If you want to change your results, you must stop trying to change your desire and start changing your design. You don't need more motivation. You need a better room. The invisible hand. Your environment is like an invisible hand that is constantly pushing you in a certain direction. Think about a supermarket. The items at eye level are the ones the store wants you to buy. The milk and eggs are at the back of the store, so you have to walk past the junk food to get to them. They have designed your walk to influence your behavior. Your workspace is doing the same thing to you right now. If your phone is sitting on your desk, even if it is face down, even if it is on silent, it is exerting a gravitational pull on your attention. A study from the University of Texas found that the mere presence of a smartphone reduces available cognitive capacity, meaning you are literally dumber just because the phone is in your line of sight. Your brain is using a portion of its power just to not check the phone. If you have 10 tabs open in your browser, those tabs are whispering to you. They are reminders of unfinished tasks, potential distractions, and shallow work. They are draining your battery. If you work in a noisy room where people can tap you on the shoulder at any time, you are living in a state of constant hypervigilance. You can never fully submerge into the depths of focus because a part of your brain is always listening for an interruption. You think you are in control of your choices, but your environment is making most of them for you. If distraction is nearby, it will win. It might not win at 9 a.m., but by 3 p.m., when your willpower battery is low, it will claim its victory. Repeat this: out of sight is out of mind. The architect of focus. To stay focused, you must stop being a victim of your environment and start being the architect of it. You must control your surroundings ruthlessly. High performers are not nicer or stronger, they are more protective of their space. Let's perform an environmental audit. We will look at 3 layers: the physical, the digital, and the social. Layer 1. The physical environment. Your desk should be a temple of focus. There should be nothing on your desk except what is required for the task at hand. If you are writing, you need a computer or a pen and paper. That is it. If there are piles of mail, old coffee cups, or random gadgets in your peripheral vision, your brain is processing that clutter as unfinished business. The most important physical change you can make is the phone separation. During your deep work blocks, your phone should not be on your desk. It should not be in your pocket. It should be in another room. Or, at the very least, it should be in a drawer, inside a bag, out of reach. If you have to stand up and walk 10 steps to check a notification, you have added friction. Human beings are naturally lazy. We take the path of least resistance. If the phone is 1 inch away, you will check it. If it is 20 feet away, you probably won't. Use your laziness to your advantage. Increase the friction for distraction and decrease the friction for focus. Layer 2. The digital environment. Your screen is the most dangerous environment in your life. It is where the engineers of distraction live. Most people's desktops are a mess of icons. Most people's browsers are a graveyard of open tabs. This is the digital equivalent of working on top of a trash heap. Before you start a deep work block, you must clear the deck. Close every tab that isn't essential. Close your email client. Close Slack. If you are working on a document, go into full screen mode or Zen mode. Make it so that the only thing you can see is the work. Use technology to fight technology. Install website blockers. Use Do Not Disturb modes. There are apps that will literally lock your computer so you can only use one specific program for a set amount of time. If you know you lack the willpower to stay off YouTube, then take the choice away from yourself. Repeat this: systems over self-control. Layer 3. The social environment. Other people are the most unpredictable distractions. In the modern office, or even the modern home, the quick question is the enemy of progress. Someone taps you on the shoulder or sends you a "Hey, got a sec?" message. They think it's a small interruption. But for you, it is a disaster. It breaks your flow, and it will take you 20 minutes to get back to where you were. You must set social boundaries. High performers use signaling. They wear noise-cancelling headphones, even if they aren't listening to music, as a visual do not disturb sign. They close their office doors. They set their status to away or deep work. You must train the people around you to respect your focus. If you always answer immediately, you are teaching people that your time is not valuable. If you wait 2 hours to respond, you are teaching them that you are busy doing something important. Design for inevitability. The goal of environmental design is to make focus inevitable. Imagine you wanted to become a world-class archer. You could try to will yourself to have a steady hand. Or, you could build a physical brace that holds your arm in the perfect position every time. The brace is the environment. When Victor Hugo, the famous author, was struggling with a massive deadline for The Hunchback of Notre Dame, he was constantly distracted by his social life. He couldn't stop going out to parties. So, he did something radical. He told his servant to take all of his clothes, his suits, his hats, his shoes, and lock them away in a chest. He was left with nothing but a giant grey knitted shawl. He couldn't leave the house. He had no clothes to wear in public. He had designed an environment where he was trapped into writing. He finished the book weeks ahead of schedule. You don't need to lock away your clothes, but you do need that same level of ruthlessness. If you find yourself checking social media, delete the app from your phone for the day. If you find yourself snacking instead of working, work in a room where there is no food. Stop asking, "How can I be more disciplined?" and start asking, "How can I make it impossible to fail?" The default state. Most of us have distraction as our default state. The phone is always in the pocket. The notifications are always on. The tabs are always open. We have to work hard to reach a state of focus. We need to flip the script. We need focus to be the default state. Your default should be phone in another room, notifications off, desktop clear, noisy people blocked out. If you want to be distracted, you should have to work for it. You should have to go get your phone, turn it on, and log in. You should have to consciously decide to break your focus design. When you do this, you stop wasting your willpower on the small things. You save your mental energy for the big problems, the creative breakthroughs, and the high-level execution. The power of place. Finally, understand that your brain associates specific environments with specific behaviors. If you work in the same bed where you sleep, your brain will be confused. It will want to sleep when you are trying to work. If you scroll through Instagram on your couch, your brain will automatically want to scroll the moment you sit on that couch. If possible, create a sacred space for your work. Even if it is just a specific chair or a specific corner of a table. When you sit in that chair, you only work. No phones, no snacks, no browsing. Over time, your brain will build an association. The moment you sit in that spot, your focus muscle will automatically engage. You won't need willpower. Your environment will trigger the focus for you. Repeat this mantra: design beats desire. You are the creator of your world. If you don't like your results, look at your surroundings. If your desk is a mess, your mind will be a mess. If your phone is your master, you will be a slave to distraction. Clean your desk. Lock your phone away. Close the tabs. Signal to the world that you are unavailable. In the next chapter, we will go deeper into the chemical reason why you crave distraction in the first place. We will look at the molecule of more, dopamine, and how it has been weaponized against you. But for now, fix your room. Fix your desk. Fix your world. Repeat, out of sight is out of mind. Chapter 4. Dopamine is training you to quit early. The chemical of more. Have you ever sat down to work, only to find yourself 5 minutes later looking at a video of someone cooking a meal halfway across the world? Or perhaps you found yourself scrolling through a news feed you don't even care about. You didn't plan to do it. You didn't even want to do it. But your hand moved to the mouse, your thumb moved to the screen, and before you knew it, your focus was gone. You are not possessed. You are being hijacked. And the hijacker is a tiny molecule in your brain called dopamine. Most people think dopamine is the chemical of pleasure. They think we get a hit of dopamine when we eat a piece of cake or win a game. But science tells a different story. Dopamine is not the chemical of pleasure. It is the chemical of anticipation. It is the molecule of more. Dopamine is what kept our ancestors hunting for days when food was scarce. It is the drive that says, keep going, there might be something better just around the corner. In the wild, this was a survival mechanism. In the modern world, it has been weaponized against you. When you see a notification, you don't get dopamine from reading the message. You get the spike the moment the phone lights up. It is the possibility of what the message might be that triggers the brain. You are hunting for a reward that rarely satisfies you. Repeat this phrase: easy pleasure makes hard work feel impossible. The cheap dopamine economy. We live in a cheap dopamine economy. In the past, dopamine had to be earned. If you wanted the reward of a finished project, you had to work for weeks. If you wanted the reward of social connection, you had to walk to a friend's house and have a conversation. The hit was preceded by effort. Today, the hit is free. You can get a massive spike of dopamine by moving your thumb 2 inches on a piece of glass. You can see 1,000 beautiful images, read 100 jokes, and watch 10 breaking news stories in the span of 3 minutes. When you flood your brain with cheap, effortless dopamine, you are raising your baseline. Think of it like a thermostat. If you constantly blast your brain with high-intensity stimulation, your normal level of stimulation goes up. Now, imagine trying to sit down and do deep work. Deep work is slow. It is quiet. It involves staring at a blank page or a complex problem for a long time without a reward. To a brain that has been trained by TikTok and Instagram, deep work feels like a sensory deprivation tank. It feels physically painful. Your brain begins to scream, "This is boring. Where is the hit? Where is the novelty?" Because you have trained your brain to expect a reward every 6 seconds, you have lost the capacity to work for 60 minutes. You aren't lazy, you have simply conditioned your brain to quit early. The training of a quitter. Every time you feel the itch of boredom and you reach for your phone to scratch it, you are practicing the act of quitting. Focus is a muscle, but so is distraction. Every time you give in to a distraction, you are strengthening the neural pathways that lead to giving up. You are telling your brain, whenever things get slightly difficult or slightly boring, we leave. We run to the easy pleasure. This is why so many people start projects but never finish them. They start with a burst of new project dopamine. It's exciting. It's fresh. But then, the work starts. The novelty wears off. The dopamine levels drop. An untrained brain will immediately look for an exit. It will decide that the project is too hard or not the right fit. But the truth is, the project isn't the problem. The brain's reward system is. Repeat this. Boredom is the doorway to mastery. Most people stop at the door. They feel the first wave of boredom and they turn back toward the easy stimulation of the digital world. But the masters, the world-class creators, the elite engineers, the legendary writers, they know that boredom is simply the tax you pay to enter the state of flow. If you cannot sit with the boredom, you will never reach the mastery. The pain of focus. We need to be honest. Deep focus requires discomfort. There is a period at the beginning of any difficult task, usually the first 15 to 20 minutes, where your brain is resisting the work. It feels like your mind is a restless animal trying to get out of a cage. You feel an urge to get up, to check the fridge, to look at your phone, to do anything else. This is the dopamine withdrawal phase. Your brain is coming down from the high of the world's constant stimulation and trying to adjust to the lower stimulation of the work. If you can stay in the chair during those 20 minutes, the itch eventually fades. Your brain recalibrates. You enter the flow state, where the work itself becomes the reward. But most people never see the flow state because they quit during the 20-minute withdrawal. They think the discomfort means they lack focus. No, the discomfort means the focus is working. It is the feeling of your brain rewiring itself. Repeat this. Stay longer than your excuses. How to recondition your brain. If you have spent years training your brain to be distracted, you cannot fix it in a day. You have to go through a process of reconditioning. You have to lower the thermostat. 1. The dopamine fast. You must create periods of time where you intentionally starve your brain of cheap stimulation. No phone, no music, no podcasts, no screens. Start small. Can you walk to the grocery store without listening to a podcast? Can you sit in a waiting room for 5 minutes without pulling out your phone? Can you eat a meal in silence? At first, this will feel like torture. That is a sign of how addicted your brain has become. But over time, you will notice something amazing. The world starts to look sharper. You notice things you didn't see before. Your thoughts become clearer. You are lowering your baseline so that normal life becomes interesting again. 2. Delay the reward. You must break the stimulus-response loop. When you feel the urge to check your phone while working, tell yourself, I will check it, but not now. I will check it in 10 minutes. By doing this, you are regaining the driver's seat. You aren't denying the reward, you are delaying it. This strengthens your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for impulse control. You are training the executive in your brain to overrule the animal. Repeat this phrase, delay the reward, deepen the focus. 3. Earn your dopamine. Make a rule for yourself. Produce before you consume. Do not allow yourself the cheap dopamine of social media or entertainment until you have earned the real dopamine of a completed task. Use the easy things as a reward for doing the hard things. If you check your phone first thing in the morning, you have given your brain a free lunch. Why would your brain want to work for the next 4 hours when it already got its reward for doing nothing? Hold the reward back. Make your brain work for it. When you finally do get the hit, it will feel better because it was earned. The gateway to high performance. Why does this matter? Because the ability to delay gratification is the single greatest predictor of long-term success. The marshmallow test, a famous psychological study, showed that children who could wait to eat a treat in exchange for a second treat later went on to have higher SAT scores, lower body mass index, and better career outcomes. In the digital age, the world is one giant marshmallow test. The marshmallow is the notification, the video, the scroll. If you can resist the immediate, cheap hit, you can have the second marshmallow, which is a life of meaning, mastery, and significant achievement. If you let dopamine run your life, you will be a spectator. You will watch other people's lives, watch other people's successes, and watch other people's adventures. If you learn to master your dopamine, you will be a creator. You will build your own success. You will live your own adventure. Mastery of the mind. Focus is not just a productivity hack. It is a biological battle. Understand that your brain is trying to save energy and find easy rewards. It is not against you. It is just following an ancient code. But you are not just a brain. You are the awareness behind the brain. You can choose to override the code. When you sit down to work and the boredom hits, smile. Recognize it for what it is. It is the gatekeeper. It is the test. Most people will fail the test. They will quit. They will go back to the easy pleasure. But not you. You will stay. You will sit in the discomfort. You will wait for your brain to recalibrate. You will push through the doorway of boredom into the hall of mastery. Repeat these mantras to yourself. Easy pleasure makes hard work feel impossible. Boredom is the doorway to mastery. Delay the reward, deepen the focus. In the next chapter, we will look at the map. Because even if you have the discipline to stay in the chair, you will still get lost if you don't know where you are going. We will discuss why you don't lack focus, you lack a target. Chapter 5. You don't lack focus, you lack a clear target. The myth of the broken brain. We have a habit of pathologizing our problems. When we find ourselves unable to sit still and finish a project, we are quick to say, I have an attention problem, or my brain just doesn't work that way, or even, I think I have ADHD. While clinical conditions exist, for 95% of people, the problem isn't biological. It's directional. You don't lack the ability to focus. You have focus. You prove it every time you get sucked into a 2-hour movie, a deep conversation with a friend, or a high-stakes video game. In those moments, your focus is absolute. The world disappears. The problem is not that your focus engine is broken. It's that you are trying to drive that engine into a thick fog. A scattered mind is almost always a mind that follows vague goals. If you sit down at your desk and your goal is to work on my business or get some stuff done, you have already invited distraction to take the wheel. Vague goals are the playground of the procrastinator. Repeat this phrase: clarity creates gravity. When a goal is crystal clear, it exerts a pull on your attention. It creates a gravitational field that sucks your focus toward it. When the goal is misty and ill-defined, your attention will naturally drift toward things that are solid, like a text message, a YouTube thumbnail, or a snack in the kitchen. The physics of intention. Think of your focus like light. If you let light scatter, it illuminates a room in a soft, gentle way, but it can't do much work. If you take that same light and focus it through a magnifying glass onto a single point, it can start a fire. If you focus it through a laser, it can cut through diamonds. Most people are living their lives in room light mode. They have 10 different intentions. They want to lose weight, write a book, get a promotion, learn to play the guitar, and travel more. Because they have 10 targets, they have no target. The human mind cannot pursue multiple top priorities simultaneously. The word priority entered the English language in the 14th century, and for 500 years it was singular. It meant the very first thing. It wasn't until the 1900s that we pluralized the word and started talking about priorities. But you cannot have multiple first things. When you try to have 10 priorities, you are diluting your focus currency until it is worthless. You spend so much mental energy deciding which thing to work on that you have none left to actually do the work. Repeat this: indecision invites distraction. Every moment you spend wondering what you should be doing is a moment where distraction will find you. Distraction fills the gaps left by indecision. If you don't know exactly what you are doing, your brain will choose the path of least resistance, which is usually your phone. The target is the cure. Look at the most successful people in history. They weren't necessarily more focused than you by nature. They were more targeted. When Michael Jordan was on the basketball court, he didn't have a vague goal to play well. He had a target, the rim. Every muscle in his body, every neuron in his brain, was calibrated to that single circular target. When a master sniper prepares for a shot, they don't look at the whole mountain. They don't even look at the whole target. They aim small, miss small. They focus on a single button on a jacket. You need to bring that same level of micro-clarity to your work. Stop saying, "I'm going to work on my book today." That is a fog. Start saying, "I'm going to write 500 words for the opening of chapter 5. That is a target. When the target is specific, your brain knows exactly what success looks like. It can visualize the finish line. And when the brain can see the finish line, it releases a small hit of dopamine to help you get there. One priority beats 10 intentions. The hardest part of focus isn't the focusing itself. It's the choosing. Focus requires you to kill off other possibilities. To focus on A means you must ignore B, C, D, and E. For most people, this is terrifying. They suffer from fear of better options. They don't want to commit to one path because they are afraid they might be missing out on something else. But as a result of trying to keep all doors open, they never walk through any of them. You must have the courage to pick one priority for your deep work block. Not 3, not 5, 1. Before you start your day, ask yourself, if I could only get one thing done today to feel like the day was a success, what would it be? That is your target. Everything else is a bonus. Everything else is secondary. When you decide on your one thing with absolute conviction, you create a focus shield. When someone asks you for a quick favor or an interesting article pops up in your feed, you can say no without hesitation, not because you are being mean, but because you have a higher commitment. Repeat this: focus flows toward commitment. The gravity of the why. Clarity isn't just about what you are doing, it's about why you are doing it. If your goal is to earn more money, that is a weak target. It doesn't have much gravity. When the work gets hard and the distractions get loud, a goal like more money won't be enough to keep you in the chair. But if your goal is to earn enough money to move my mother out of a dangerous neighborhood, that target has massive gravity. It is heavy. It is meaningful. It pulls you through the boredom and the discomfort. The more serious you are about the outcome, the less distractible you become. Distraction is often a sign that you don't actually care about the goal as much as you say you do. If you find yourself accidentally scrolling for 2 hours, it's a signal that your target isn't compelling enough. You haven't made the goal heavy enough to anchor your attention. You must find a target that matters. You must find a why that makes the how irrelevant. How to set a clear target. To take back your focus, you must practice the targeting protocol. Every time you sit down to work, you must spend 2 minutes establishing clarity before you touch a keyboard. 1. Define the product. Don't define the process, e.g., I'm going to code. Define the product, e.g., I'm going to fix the login bug in the mobile app. What will exist at the end of this hour that doesn't exist now? If you can't name the deliverable, you don't have a target. 2. Shrink the scope. If your target feels overwhelming, it will cause anxiety. Anxiety leads to avoidance. Avoidance leads to distraction. If the target is write a business plan, your brain will want to hide. If the target is draft the marketing strategy section, your brain will engage. Shrink the target until it feels doable but challenging. 3. Set a hard stop. Focus expands or contracts to fill the time available. This is Parkinson's law. If you give yourself all afternoon to write a report, it will take all afternoon and you will get distracted 50 times. If you give yourself 90 minutes and set a timer, you have created a pressure vessel. The deadline creates a target in time. It forces you to ignore the trivial. The sniper mindset. Imagine you are a sniper. You have one shot. You have one target. You are breathing slowly. You aren't thinking about what you're having for dinner. You aren't thinking about your emails. You are purely 100% focused on the crosshairs. This is how you must approach your most important work. The world will try to pull your eyes away from the crosshairs. It will throw urgent tasks at you. It will dangle interesting news in front of you. It will try to convince you that you need to multitask. But the sniper knows that if they look away for even a second, they miss the target. You must become a sniper of your own time. Decide what the target is. Lock on. And refuse to look away until the product is finished. Moving with purpose. A person with a clear target moves differently. They walk faster. They speak with more conviction. They don't drift into conversations or stumble into social media loops. They have somewhere to be. When you have a clear target, your no becomes automatic. Can we chat? No, I'm on a target. Did you see this video? No, I'm on a target. Want to check the news? No, I'm on a target. You aren't being rude. You are being intentional. You are recognizing that your life is built out of the targets you hit, not the distractions you entertained. Repeat these mantras to yourself. Clarity creates gravity. Indecision invites distraction. Focus flows toward commitment. You don't lack focus. You never have. You have just been aiming at nothing. Now, pick a target. Make it small. Make it specific. Make it heavy. And watch as your focus naturally aligns itself with your will. In the next chapter, we will talk about the most important time of the day. Because if you don't hit your first target of the morning, you will likely miss every other target for the rest of the day. We are going to learn how to control the first hour. Chapter 6. Control the first hour. Control the day. The morning ambush. How did your day begin today? For most people, the day begins with an ambush. The alarm goes off, usually on a smartphone, and the very first act of the day is to reach out and touch that device. Before your feet have even hit the floor, before you have even fully processed that you are awake, you are already in the world. You check your email. You check the news. You check social media. You see a message from a client that causes a tiny spark of anxiety. You see a headline about a political disaster that causes a flash of anger. You see a photo of someone else's life that causes a drop of envy. In less than 60 seconds, you have surrendered your mental state to the highest bidder. You have allowed the world to decide what you think about, how you feel, and what you prioritize. You have trained your brain to be reactive before you have even had a glass of water. This is a tactical error of the highest magnitude. If you start your day in a reactive state, you will stay in a reactive state until you go back to sleep. You have set your internal compass to distraction. Repeat this phrase: win the morning, win the mind. If you want to stay focused when everything tries to distract you, you must establish a perimeter around the first hour of your day. This is the most sacred time you have. It is the time when your brain is most plastic, most creative, and most capable of deep work. To give it away to a screen is a form of self-sabotage. The science of the waking brain. When you wake up, your brain is transitioning through different types of brainwaves. You move from the deep delta of sleep into theta, the state of high creativity and visualization, and then into alpha, the state of calm, relaxed alertness. This transition is precious. In these early moments, your subconscious is still accessible. This is why many of the world's greatest ideas come to people in the shower or while they are making their morning coffee. The brain is not yet cluttered with the noise of the day. However, when you pick up your phone and start scrolling, you force your brain to skip these productive states and jump straight into high-intensity beta waves, the waves of stress, alertness, and fight or flight. You are literally shocking your nervous system into a state of distraction. By checking your phone first thing, you are telling your brain that the new is more important than the significant. You are conditioning yourself to seek external validation and external input rather than internal clarity. You are beginning your day as a consumer rather than a creator. Create before you consume. This is the golden rule of the focused mind. Create before you consume. Most people's days are 90% consumption and 10% creation. They consume emails, they consume podcasts, they consume meetings, they consume social media. They spend their entire day reacting to what other people have produced. The elite flip this ratio. They understand that their creative energy, their focus fuel, is at its highest in the morning. They refuse to spend that fuel on someone else's agenda. Creation doesn't just mean writing a book or painting a picture. Creation means doing the heavy lifting of your job. It means solving the hard problem, designing the strategy, or doing the deep thinking that moves the needle. If you check your email at 8 a.m., you are now working on other people's to-do lists. You are spending your best mental energy answering questions and solving problems that belong to everyone else. By the time you get to your work at 11 a.m., your brain is already tired. The edge is gone. Repeat this: win the morning, win the mind. The first hour is your off-grid time. No inputs. No voices from the outside world. Just you, your target, and your work. The rituals of the focused. Success is not a result of trying hard in the moment. It is a result of rituals that make success automatic. The reason people get distracted in the morning is decision fatigue. If you wake up and have to decide what to wear, what to eat, and what task to work on first, you are using up your willpower before you even start. Every choice you make drains your focus. This is why high performers are obsessed with routine. Mark Zuckerberg and Steve Jobs famously wore the same outfit every day. They didn't do it for fashion. They did it because they didn't want to waste a single drop of decision-making power on something as trivial as a shirt. You need a morning protocol. You need a sequence of events that is so automatic you could do it in your sleep. When the routine is automatic, your focus is preserved for the work. Repeat this phrase: routine is freedom. People often think that a routine is a cage. They think it's boring. They want to go with the flow. But the person who goes with the flow is the person who gets swept away by the current of distraction. True freedom is the ability to do what you intended to do. And the only way to ensure you do what you intended is to have a routine that guards your time. Routine isn't a cage, it's a shield. It shields you from the 1,000 small decisions that try to pull you off track. Building your first hour protocol. How do you build a focus-first morning? It doesn't require a 3-hour ritual of meditation, ice baths, and journaling. It can be simple, but it must be non-negotiable. Step 1. The phone exile. The night before, put your phone in another room. Do not use it as an alarm clock. Buy a $10 analog alarm clock. If your phone is the first thing you touch in the morning, you have already lost. The first hour begins with a digital fast. You do not touch a screen until the first hour is over. Step 2. Hydrate and move. Wake up the body to wake up the brain. Drink water. Stretch. Walk for 5 minutes. You are signaling to your biology that the day has begun and that you are the one in charge. Step 3. The deep work sprint. Go straight to your sacred space, the one we discussed in Chapter 3. Sit down with the clear target you defined the night before. Do not check things. Do not get settled. Do not see what's happening. Work on your one priority for 60 minutes. This is the most productive hour of the day. Because the world is still asleep and your brain is fresh, you will accomplish more in this 1 hour of creation than most people accomplish in an entire 8-hour day of consumption. The power of momentum. Why is this first hour so powerful? Because it creates focus momentum. When you finish that first hour and you have actually hit your target, your brain releases a massive wave of real dopamine. Not the cheap stuff from a like, but the real stuff from an achievement. You feel capable. You feel in control. You feel powerful. Now, when you finally do open your phone at 9 a.m. and you see the emails and the chaos, you are viewing them from a position of strength. You have already won the day. You are no longer a victim of the world's demands. You are a producer who has already finished their most important task. If you start the day with a win, you are likely to keep winning. If you start the day with a distraction, you will spend the rest of the day chasing your own tail. Repeat this. Routine is freedom. Avoiding the just quickly trap. The greatest enemy of the first hour protocol is the just quickly trap. I'll just quickly check the weather. I'll just quickly see if that package shipped. I'll just quickly check the score of the game. There is no such thing as just quickly. Every quick check is a hook that pulls you out of your internal world and into the external world. Once the hook is in, it is very hard to pull it out. You must be a zealot about your first hour. You must guard it with a level of intensity that others might find weird. Let them think you're weird. Let them be normal, which in today's world means being distracted, anxious, and unproductive. You are playing a different game. You are playing the game of mastery. The morning is a mirror. Your morning is a mirror of your life. If your morning is chaotic, your life is likely chaotic. If your morning is reactive, your life is likely reactive. If your morning is surrendered to a screen, your life is being lived by someone else's design. By taking control of the first 60 minutes, you are making a statement to yourself and to the universe. I am the master of my attention. I am the architect of my day. I decide what matters. This discipline will ripple out into every other hour. You will find that because you had a focus anchor in the morning, it is easier to say no to distractions at 2 p.m. You have set the standard of attention for the day. The choice. Tomorrow morning, you will wake up and you will be faced with a choice. On one side is the easy path. The phone is right there. The dopamine is waiting. You can scroll, you can react, and you can let the world decide your mood. It's comfortable, it's familiar, and it leads to a life of average results. On the other side is the disciplined path. The phone stays in the other room. You sit in the silence. You face the boredom. You work on the target. It's uncomfortable, it's quiet, and it leads to mastery. Which one will you choose? Remember, you don't find time for focus. You make time by defending the morning. Repeat these mantras. Win the morning, win the mind. Routine is freedom. Create before you consume. In the next chapter, we are going to look deeper. We are going to look at the why behind the why. We will discuss the uncomfortable truth that most of your distractions aren't actually about the phone. They are about the feelings you are trying to escape. Chapter 7. Most distractions are emotional escapes. The internal fugitive. You are sitting at your desk. You have your clear target. Your environment is set. Your phone is in the other room. You have every reason to be productive. But then, a few minutes into the task, something happens. You feel an invisible pressure, a tightness in your chest, a slight sense of unease. Suddenly, you find yourself getting up to check if there's a snack in the fridge that you don't even want. Or you find yourself opening a new tab to research a random fact that doesn't matter. Or you decide that now is the perfect time to reorganize your desk. Why? You didn't lose your focus. You threw it away. You did it because you were trying to escape. Most people believe that distraction is something that happens to them, an external force that breaks their concentration. But the uncomfortable truth is that most distractions are internal. We don't get distracted. We seek distraction to avoid discomfort. Repeat this phrase: distraction is avoidance in disguise. You aren't looking at your phone because you are interested in the world. You are looking at your phone because you are running away from yourself. You are running away from the feelings that the work is bringing to the surface. Procrastination is not about time. For decades, we have treated procrastination as a time management problem. We thought that if people just had better planners and better to-do lists, they would stop procrastinating. But we were wrong. Recent psychological research has proven that procrastination is actually an emotional regulation problem. When you face a task that is difficult, ambiguous, or high stakes, your brain's amygdala, the threat detector, fires off. It perceives the work as a threat. Not a physical threat like a predator, but a psychological threat to your ego. The work makes you feel incompetent. It makes you feel bored. It makes you feel the fear of failure. To save you from these negative feelings, your brain looks for the nearest exit. It looks for a mood repair mechanism. And what is the fastest way to repair your mood? A hit of dopamine. A distraction. The moment you click away from the hard task and toward the easy distraction, your anxiety drops. You feel a sense of relief. You have successfully escaped the discomfort. The problem is that you have also escaped your potential. You have traded your long-term mastery for short-term comfort. The three great escapes: fear, doubt, and boredom. To master your focus, you must identify the specific emotional weather that drives you toward distraction. Most escapes fall into three categories. 1. The escape from fear. This is the high-stakes distraction. You are working on something that actually matters, a business proposal, a creative project, a difficult conversation. Because it matters, you are afraid of doing it poorly. You are afraid that if you give it your all and fail, it means you are a failure. So, you distract yourself. You fake work by checking emails or doing research. This is a self-sabotage mechanism. If you fail, you can tell yourself, well, I didn't really focus on it. It protects your ego, but it kills your career. 2. The escape from doubt. This is the I don't know how distraction. You hit a wall in your work. You reach a point where you don't know the next step. This triggers a feeling of inadequacy. You feel stupid or not good enough. To escape that feeling of being stuck, you run to something where you feel capable, like clearing your inbox or scrolling through a feed where you don't have to think. You are running from the discomfort of learning. 3. The escape from boredom. This is the grind distraction. The work isn't hard in terms of complexity, but it is repetitive. Your brain craves the variable rewards we talked about in Chapter 4. You feel a physical itch to check for something new. You aren't avoiding pain. You are avoiding the void of quiet effort. You have become so addicted to stimulation that nothing happening feels like a crisis. Repeat this. Stay longer than your excuses. The compass of resistance. How do we fight an internal enemy? We start by changing our relationship with the discomfort. Stephen Pressfield, in his classic book The War of Art, calls this internal force resistance. He makes a brilliant observation. The more important a task is to your soul's evolution, the more resistance you will feel toward it. Resistance is actually a compass. It points directly to the work that you must do. If you feel a massive urge to get distracted while you are trying to write your book, it is a sign that the book is incredibly important. If you feel no resistance at all when you are playing a video game or scrolling social media, it is because those things are trivial. From now on, I want you to rebrand the feeling of wanting to get distracted. Don't see it as a failure. See it as a signal. When you feel that itch to run away from the work, say to yourself, "This feeling is proof that I am at my growth edge. This work matters. This is where the magic happens." Repeat this. The work you resist is the work that matters. If you aren't feeling some level of discomfort, you aren't pushing yourself. Focus isn't the absence of discomfort. It is the refusal to let discomfort drive you out of the room. Sitting in the fire. The primary skill of the 21st century is the ability to sit with the itch. In the past, we had no choice. If you were bored, you stayed bored until the work was done. Today, we have an escape hatch in our pockets 24/7. This has made us emotionally fragile. We have lost the ability to tolerate even 10 seconds of psychological unease. To regain your focus, you must build your discomfort tolerance. You must learn to sit in the fire without running for the water of distraction. Here is the practice. The next time you are working and you feel that sudden, sharp urge to check your phone or open a new tab, stop. Do not give in. But do not try to fight the feeling either. Just sit with it. Observe it. Feel the tightness in your chest. Feel the restlessness in your hands. Notice the thought, "I really want to check the news right now." Don't judge the thought. Just watch it. Usually, an emotional urge is like a wave. It builds, it peaks, and then it recedes. If you can stay in your chair for just 90 seconds without acting on the urge, the wave will pass. You will find that on the other side of the wave, the work feels slightly easier. You have tamed the animal part of your brain. The 10-minute rule. If the wave is too strong and you feel like you are going to break, use the 10-minute rule. Tell yourself, "I can check my phone, but I have to stay with this task for 10 more minutes first." 9 times out of 10, by the time the 10 minutes are up, you will have broken through the resistance barrier. You will be in a flow state, and you won't even want the distraction anymore. You have successfully navigated the emotional escape. You are training your brain that you are the one in charge, not your impulses. You are showing your subconscious that you can survive boredom and doubt without needing a digital pacifier. Embracing the ugly middle. Every great project has an ugly middle. The beginning is fun because of the novelty. The end is fun because of the achievement. But the middle is where the work lives. The middle is where it's boring, where it's confusing, and where it feels like you're making no progress. This is where 99% of people quit. They quit by getting distracted by a new project, a new idea, or a new hobby. They are serial beginners. They spend their whole lives in the new phase because they are afraid of the ugly middle. If you want to be in the 1% who actually finish things, you must embrace the ugly middle. You must accept that for long stretches of time, the work will feel like a grind. It will feel uninspired. It will feel like you are bad at it. That is not a sign to leave. That is a sign to stay. Mastery is what happens when you stay in the room after everyone else has left to go get a dopamine hit. The identity of the focused. To stay focused, you must change your identity. Stop saying, "I'm a person who gets easily distracted." That gives you an emotional out. It makes distraction feel like an inevitable part of who you are. Start saying, "I'm the kind of person who stays. I'm the kind of person who sits with discomfort. I'm the kind of person who finishes what they start." When you view distraction as an emotional escape, you realize that giving in is a form of cowardice. It is a refusal to face your own thoughts and your own potential. And you are not a coward. You are a creator. You are a leader. You are a focused professional. Developing psychological flexibility. Focus is not a rigid state. It is a flexible one. Psychological flexibility is the ability to stay in contact with the present moment, even when that moment is unpleasant. It is the ability to feel I'm bored and I'm working at the same time. You don't need to fix your feelings before you can focus. You don't need to wait until you're in the mood. You can be in a bad mood and still produce world-class work. In fact, most of the world's greatest art and most successful businesses were built by people who were stressed, tired, and doubting themselves. They just didn't let those feelings tell them where to put their eyes. They felt the discomfort, and they kept their eyes on the target anyway. Repeat this mantra. Distraction is avoidance in disguise. The freedom on the other side. There is a profound sense of freedom that comes from knowing you don't have to react to your feelings. When you no longer run from boredom, boredom loses its power over you. When you no longer run from fear, fear loses its power over you. You become undistractable because you are unshakable. The world can throw any notification, any headline, and any urgent request at you. But if you have mastered your internal emotional state, none of it can touch you. You have built a fortress of focus from the inside out. As we move into the next chapter, we will talk about the execution of this mindset. Because understanding the psychology is only half the battle. Now, you must learn the discipline of doing it even when your mind rebels. We are going to talk about the non-negotiables. Repeat these mantras to yourself. Distraction is avoidance in disguise. The work you resist is the work that matters. Stay longer than your excuses. Chapter 8. Discipline is doing it even when your mind rebels. The inner negotiator. It is 6 a.m. Or maybe it's the start of your scheduled deep work block at 1 p.m. You have the plan. You have the environment. You have the target. Everything is ready. And then, a voice speaks up in your mind. It's a very persuasive voice. It's an intellectual voice. It says, you didn't sleep that well last night. Maybe we should just do the light work today and save the hard stuff for tomorrow when we're fresh. Or it says, we just need to check the news one time to make sure nothing world-changing happened while we were focused. Just 5 minutes. Or perhaps, I'm just not feeling it right now. I don't feel creative. I'll wait for the spark. I call this voice the inner negotiator. The inner negotiator is a genius at making excuses sound like logic. It doesn't tell you to quit, it tells you to postpone. It doesn't tell you to fail, it tells you to rest. It uses your own intelligence against you to lure you away from the path of discipline. If you want to stay focused when everything tries to distract you, you must learn one fundamental truth: the disciplined mind does not negotiate. You do not argue with a rebel. You give orders and you execute. You have already made the decision when you were in your right mind. Now that you are in the heat of the battle, your only job is to obey. Focus is not a feeling. We have a toxic obsession with being in the mood. We treat focus as if it's some mystical spirit that descends upon us from the heavens. We think we need to feel inspired or feel motivated or feel ready before we can do our best work. This is the mark of an amateur. The professional knows that focus is not a feeling. It is a function of discipline. If you only work when you feel ready, you are a slave to your moods. And moods are like the weather, they change every hour. If you want to build a life of mastery, you cannot build it on the shifting sands of your emotions. You must build it on the concrete of your commitments. Repeat this phrase: act first, feel later. Motivation does not precede action. Action precedes motivation. When you sit down and start working, even if you feel tired, even if you feel bored, even if you feel uninspired, the act of working eventually triggers the state of focus. The feeling follows the doing. Stop checking your emotional temperature before you start your work. It doesn't matter how you feel. The target doesn't care about your feelings. The clock doesn't care about your feelings. The results definitely don't care about your feelings. You don't need to feel focused to be focused. You just need to be in the chair, doing the work, and refusing to leave. The power of decide once. Most people lose their focus because they are constantly making micro decisions throughout the day. Should I check my phone now? Should I work for another 20 minutes? Should I answer this Slack message? Every time you ask these questions, you are opening a negotiation with your inner negotiator. And that negotiator is a closer. He will win. He will convince you that you deserve a break or that the distraction is important. The solution is to decide once. You don't decide every morning whether you're going to work on your priority. You decided that weeks ago. You don't decide whether to check your phone during your deep work block. You already made the law: no phones during work. When a rule is non-negotiable, it takes no willpower to follow. Think about a vegetarian. A strict vegetarian doesn't look at a steak and think, should I eat that? It looks good. Maybe just a bite. No, they decided once, a long time ago, I don't eat meat. The choice is gone. There is no negotiation. Therefore, there is no struggle. You must treat your focus blocks with that same level of identity-based discipline. I am a person who does not check their phone until 11 a.m. I am a person who stays in the chair until the word count is hit. I am a person who does not negotiate with distractions. Repeat this. Non-negotiable means non-negotiable. When you make a law for yourself, you must follow it with military-style precision. If you break your own laws, you lose respect for yourself. And once you lose self-respect, your focus will crumble completely. The discipline of the sit. In the military, they have a saying, embrace the suck. This applies perfectly to focus. There will be moments where the work sucks. It will be confusing. It will be frustrating. You will feel like you are hitting your head against a brick wall. The average person takes this discomfort as a sign to go get a hit of dopamine. They get up, they walk around, they check something. The disciplined person stay in the sit. They realize that the breakthrough is on the other side of the frustration. Frustration is the sound of your brain expanding. It is the feeling of growth. If you can stay in the chair when your mind is screaming at you to leave, you are winning the battle. You are showing your mind who the master is. Every minute you stay in the sit while feeling the urge to leave is worth 10 minutes of easy work. This is where the focus muscle is actually built. It is easy to focus when the work is fun. Anyone can do that. The skill that builds empires is the ability to focus when the work is a grind. Consistency beats intensity. The world loves the hustle culture story, the person who stays up for 48 hours straight to finish a project. We celebrate the all-nighter and the epic sprint. But intensity is unsustainable. Intensity leads to burnout. Intensity is often a cover-up for a lack of discipline. The true masters know that consistency beats intensity every single time. 1 hour of focused, non-negotiable work every day is more powerful than a 20-hour marathon once a month. Why? Because of the compound interest of focus. When you show up every day, your brain stays warm. You don't have to spend 30 minutes remembering where you were. You have momentum. You are building a chain of success. Jerry Seinfeld, one of the most successful comedians of all time, used a simple system called Don't Break the Chain. He had a big wall calendar, and every day that he wrote new jokes, he put a big red X over that day. After a few days, he had a chain. His only job was to not break the chain. It didn't matter if the jokes were good. It didn't matter if he felt funny. It only mattered that he did the work and marked the X. You need a chain. You need to show up when you're tired. You need to show up when you're busy. You need to show up when the world is trying to distract you. Repeat this: act first, feel later. The 2-minute rule for discipline. When your mind is rebelling and the resistance feels too high to start, use the 2-minute rule. Tell your mind, we aren't going to work for 4 hours. We're just going to sit here and do the first 2 minutes. 2 minutes is too small to fail. Anyone can do 2 minutes. You sit down, you open the file, you write 1 sentence. But here is the secret: once you have started, the internal negotiator loses his power. The hardest part of focus is the activation energy, the transition from off to on. Once you are on, the momentum of the work often carries you forward. Discipline is often just the courage to survive the first 120 seconds of resistance. The non-negotiable standard. What is your standard? Most people have conditional standards. They are focused if the sun is shining, if they had their coffee, and if no one is bothering them. You must have an unconditional standard. A professional athlete shows up for the game whether they have a cold, whether they are going through a divorce, or whether the crowd is booing them. They have a standard of performance that is independent of their circumstances. Your focus must be unconditional. The phone is a distraction. Ignore it. The mind is rebelling. Stay in the chair. The world is in chaos. Hit the target. When you raise your standard to the level of non-negotiable, the world starts to move out of your way. People stop bothering you because they can sense your intensity. Distractions lose their hook because they are trying to catch something that is moving with too much purpose. The reward of the rebel. There is a unique kind of confidence that comes from discipline. It is not the fake confidence of positive affirmations. It is the earned confidence of a person who told themselves they would do something and then did it, even when it was hard. Every time you stay focused while your mind rebels, you are casting a vote for a new identity. You are becoming a person who cannot be bought by cheap distractions. You are becoming a person of power. The inner negotiator will eventually get the message. He will stop trying to talk you out of your work because he knows you won't listen. Your discipline will become your new normal. But until then, you must fight. You must be the commander of your own mind. Repeat these mantras to yourself. Act first, feel later. Non-negotiable means non-negotiable. The disciplined mind does not negotiate. In the next chapter, we are going to look at the fuel. Because even the most disciplined mind will eventually run out of gas if it isn't managed correctly. We are going to talk about protecting your energy like its currency. Chapter 9. Protect your energy like its currency. The invisible bank account. Imagine you wake up every morning with $1,000 in a special bank account. There is only one rule: you cannot save it. You cannot roll it over to the next day. Whatever you don't spend, you lose. If you were in this situation, you would be incredibly careful about how you spent that money. You wouldn't walk down the street handing out $100 bills to every stranger who yelled at you. You wouldn't throw $50 into a trash can just because you were bored. You would look for the best return on investment. You would spend that money on things that actually improved your life. Well, you do have that account. But the currency isn't dollars. It is mental energy. Every morning, you wake up with a finite amount of cognitive fuel. This fuel is what allows you to resist the urge to check your phone. It is what allows you to solve complex problems. It is what allows you to stay calm when things go wrong. But most people treat their mental energy like it's infinite. They spend it recklessly on things that pay them back nothing. They give $50 worth of energy to a political argument on Facebook. They give $200 worth of energy to worrying about a meeting that hasn't happened yet. They give $300 worth of energy to a quick scroll through a gossip site. By the time they sit down to do their most important work, their balance is near zero. They aren't unfocused, they are bankrupt. Repeat this phrase: spend it where it pays you back. The high cost of distraction. Every time you switch your attention, you are paying a tax. As we discussed in Chapter 2, task switching is expensive. But it's not just expensive in terms of time, it's expensive in terms of glucose. Your brain, specifically the prefrontal cortex, is the most energy-hungry organ in your body. It represents only 2% of your body weight but consumes 20% of your energy. When you force your brain to jump from a spreadsheet to a text, then to an email, then back to the spreadsheet, you are redlining your engine. You are burning through your focus fuel at triple the normal rate. This is why you can feel physically exhausted after a day of sitting in an office doing nothing. You didn't run a marathon, but your brain did. It ran 1,000 sprints between different stimuli. Distraction is an unauthorized withdrawal from your life's most important account. Every notification you allow is someone else reaching into your pocket and taking your currency. If you want to stay focused, you have to become a miser with your attention. You have to guard your energy with a level of ruthlessness that borders on obsession. Other people's urgency is not your priority. One of the greatest drains on your mental energy is the urgency of others. We live in a world of instant communication. Because someone can send you a message in 1 second, they expect a response in 2. We have been conditioned to believe that fast equals good. But there is a difference between urgent and important. Important things are the ones that move your life forward. Your health, your deep work, your long-term goals. Urgent things are the things that scream the loudest. A ringing phone, a pinging Slack channel, a "hey, got a second?" from a co-worker. Most urgent things are actually low value. They are someone else's lack of planning becoming your emergency. When you spend your morning answering emails or responding to every notification, you are spending your premium energy on low-value tasks. You are giving away your gold to buy pennies. Repeat this: Not everything deserves your attention. You must learn the art of the delayed response. You are not a 911 dispatcher. Unless someone is physically bleeding, it can probably wait an hour. By making people wait for a response, you are training them to respect your time, and more importantly, you are protecting the energy you need for your own mission. The emotional leak. It's not just tasks that drain your energy. Emotions are the biggest leaks in the bucket. Have you ever had a 5-minute argument with someone in the morning, and then found yourself unable to focus for the next 4 hours? Even though the argument was short, the emotional residue stayed. Your brain kept replaying the scene, thinking of what you should have said, feeling the spike of cortisol and adrenaline. That is a massive energy drain. Other leaks include comparison, scrolling through social media and feeling behind because of someone else's highlight reel. Vague worry, thinking about what might happen without taking any action to prevent it. Resentment, holding on to old grudges that require mental processing power to maintain. To protect your focus, you must close these leaks. You must realize that you literally cannot afford to be angry at that person on the internet. You cannot afford to worry about what your neighbor thinks of your car. You don't have enough energy in the bank to waste it on things that don't pay you back. Repeat this phrase, spend it where it pays you back. Rest is a performance tool, not a luxury. In our always-on culture, we have been taught that rest is laziness. We wear our burnout like a badge of honor. We brag about how little we sleep and how many hours we work. This is the peak of stupidity. If you were a professional athlete, you would know that the work happens during the training, but the growth happens during the recovery. If you never rest, your muscles never rebuild. You eventually snap. Your brain is the same. Focus is a high-intensity activity. You cannot maintain it for 16 hours straight. If you try, you are simply performing fake work. You are sitting at your desk, but your brain is so tired that you are making mistakes, reading the same paragraph 5 times, and getting easily distracted by anything that moves. Repeat this. Burnout is unfocused effort. High performers do not work harder in the traditional sense. They work with more intensity and then they rest with more intentionality. They oscillate. They go 100% for 90 minutes, and then they go 0% for 15 minutes. Real rest is not scrolling through your phone on the couch. That is not rest, that is low-intensity stimulation. Your brain is still processing information. Your eyes are still working. Your dopamine system is still being triggered. Real rest is a walk in nature without a podcast, a 20-minute nap, staring out a window with a cup of coffee, deep, restorative sleep. When you rest, you are sharpening the axe. If you spend 8 hours trying to cut down a tree with a dull blade, you will be exhausted and the tree will still be standing. If you spend 1 hour sharpening the blade and 3 hours cutting, you will be done in half the time. Rest is the sharpening of your focus. The sleep sanctity. We cannot talk about energy without talking about sleep. Sleep is the system reboot for your brain. It is when your brain's glymphatic system flushes out the metabolic waste that builds up during the day. It is when your memories are consolidated. If you are sleep deprived, you are effectively drunk on distraction. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that says no to the phone, is the first part of the brain to go offline when you are tired. This is why it's so much harder to resist junk food or social media late at night. Your willpower battery is dead. If you want to be a focused person, you must make sleep non-negotiable. 7 to 8 hours is not a suggestion. It is a biological requirement for high-level cognitive function. Protect your sleep like your career depends on it. Because it does. The energy audit. To stay focused, you must perform a daily energy audit. At the end of the day, ask yourself, where did my energy go today? Which of those investments paid me back? E.g., deep work, exercise, time with family. Which of those investments were total losses? E.g., arguing, mindless scrolling, worrying. Once you see the losses, you can start to cut them out. You start to realize that the cost of that distraction wasn't just 5 minutes of time. It was the focus fuel you needed for your big project. You begin to say no more often. No, I can't jump on that call. No, I'm not going to read that comment section. No, I'm not going to engage in that drama. You aren't being selfish. You are being a professional. You are protecting the currency that builds your future. Strategic recovery. Learn to work in pulses. The human body operates on ultradian rhythms, cycles of about 90 to 120 minutes. After 90 minutes of high focus, your brain needs a break. If you push past that point without a rest, your stress hormones, cortisol, spike to keep you going. This leads to that wired but tired feeling. Instead, work for 90 minutes of absolute, deep, single-tasking focus. Then, step away. Completely. No screens. No quick checks. Let your brain reset. When you return 15 minutes later, your energy balance will be replenished. You will be able to go again with the same intensity. This pulse method allows you to do more in 4 hours than most people do in 12 hours of continuous but shallow effort. Focus as wealth. Focus is the new wealth. In an age of infinite distraction, the person who has the energy to concentrate is the person who will own the future. Money can be printed. Information is everywhere. But the energy to apply that information toward a specific goal is incredibly rare. Stop being an attention pauper, someone who begs for likes and reacts to every chime. Become an attention millionaire. Accumulate your energy. Invest it wisely. Guard it from thieves. Every morning, look at your mental bank account and make a vow. Today, I will not spend my gold on garbage. I will spend my energy where it pays me back. Repeat these mantras to yourself. Spend it where it pays you back. Not everything deserves your attention. Burnout is unfocused effort. In our final chapter, we will bring everything together. We will discuss why focus isn't just a productivity tool. It is the foundational skill that builds every other skill in your life. We will look at the long game. Chapter 10. Focus is the skill that builds every other skill. The master key. We have traveled through the trenches of your brain chemistry, the architecture of your environment, the psychology of your emotions, and the discipline of your mornings. But here, in the final chapter, we must zoom out. We must look at the big picture of your life. You might have started this book wanting to be more productive at work or to stop scrolling so much on your phone. Those are noble goals. But I want you to understand that we are doing something much bigger than that. Focus is not just a productivity hack. It is not a tool you pick up when you have a deadline and put down when you are finished. Focus is the meta skill that makes every other skill possible. Think of a tree. The skills you have, your ability to code, to write, to lead, to negotiate, to parent, are the branches. But focus is the root system. If the roots are shallow, the branches can only grow so far before the first wind of distraction knocks the whole tree over. If the roots are deep, the tree can reach the sky. Mastery, wealth, confidence, and deep relationships, everything meaningful in human existence requires sustained, unbroken attention. If you cannot focus, you cannot master. If you cannot master, you cannot lead. If you cannot lead, you are simply a passenger in your own life. The compounding effect of focus. The world is obsessed with hacks and shortcuts. People want to know the one secret to getting rich or the fastest way to get in shape. They are looking for a magic bullet. But there is no magic bullet. There is only the compounding effect of focus. Imagine two people. The first person is the restarter. They have a lot of energy and many ideas. On Monday, they are focused on a new business. By Wednesday, they see a video about real estate and get distracted. By Friday, they are looking at a new fitness app. They are always busy, but they are always starting at zero. Their energy is scattered in 1,000 directions, and as a result, they never move more than an inch in any of them. The second person is the developer. They aren't necessarily smarter or more talented than the first person, but they have chosen a target. They work on that one business, that one skill, or that one goal every single day. Even when it's boring. Even when it's hard. Even when the next big thing tries to distract them. In the first week, the developer doesn't look like they are winning. The restarter is having more fun with their new ideas. But by year 3, the developer has built an empire. They have reached the level of mastery where they can do things others can only dream of. Repeat this phrase: you become what you focus on. While others are restarting, you are continuing. While others are looking for the new, you are mastering the old. In the long run, the person who can stay focused on one thing for 1,000 days will always destroy the person who has 1,000 ideas in one day. Focus is the force multiplier of time. Mastery is a quiet room. We live in a culture that celebrates the loud. We see the highlight reels, the awards, and the finished products. We see the athlete standing on the podium or the author holding the bestseller. But mastery doesn't happen on the podium. Mastery happens in a quiet room, alone, with the door shut. Mastery is the result of 10,000 boring hours of focused repetition. It is the result of looking at the same problem until your eyes ache. It is the result of refusing to look at your phone when you reach a difficult sentence. Most people are shallow practitioners. They learn the basics of a skill, and as soon as it gets hard, as soon as the dopamine of novelty wears off, they look for a distraction. They stay at the beginner level of 10 different things for their entire lives. The focused person knows that the real rewards are found in the depths. You have to push through the intermediate plateau, that long, dry stretch where you feel like you aren't getting better. The only way through that plateau is focus. If you can stay focused, you can learn anything. If you can learn anything, you can become anything. The skill of focus makes you future-proof. No matter how the economy changes or how AI evolves, the person who can sit down and master a complex new reality will always be in demand. Focus and the architecture of confidence. There is a secret benefit to focus that no one talks about: confidence. Most people think confidence comes from winning. But true, unshakable confidence comes from integrity. It comes from making a promise to yourself and keeping it. Every time you say, "I'm going to work on this for 2 hours," and then you actually do it without getting distracted, you are sending a message to your subconscious. You are saying, "I am a person who can be trusted. I am a person who is in control of my own mind." This builds an internal foundation that no one can take away from you. On the flip side, every time you say you're going to work and then accidentally spend 2 hours on YouTube, you are betraying yourself. You are telling your brain, "My word doesn't matter. I am a victim of my impulses." This leads to a deep, underlying sense of anxiety and low self-esteem. You don't need positive affirmations to feel confident. You need a history of focus. You need to look back at your day and see that you hit your targets. When you master your attention, you master your life. And when you master your life, you walk with a different kind of weight. You know that whatever the world throws at you, you have the discipline to handle it. Repeat this: focus flows toward commitment. The economic reality, the rarity of focus. Let's talk about the cold, hard reality of the modern economy. We are moving into a winner-take-all world. In the past, you could get by being average. You could be a decent worker who was mostly focused, and you would have a stable life. Those days are over. Information is now a commodity. Basic skills are being automated. The only thing that is becoming more valuable is the ability to do deep work, to solve complex problems that require sustained concentration. As the rest of the world gets more distracted, the value of focus skyrockets. While everyone else is skimming, the person who is studying becomes a god. While everyone else is reacting, the person who is strategizing wins the market. By practicing the lessons in this book, you are putting yourself in the top 1% of the global workforce. Not because you have a better degree, but because you have a better brain. You have a brain that can do what 99% of people can no longer do: stay on task until the job is done. Focus is the unfair advantage. It is the skill that allows you to move faster, think deeper, and produce more than 100 people who are checking their notifications every 5 minutes. This is a practice, not a destination. As we come to the end of this book, I want to leave you with a vital truth: focus is a daily practice. You will never arrive at a state of perfect focus. You will never be cured of distraction. As long as you are alive, your brain will crave novelty. As long as you are in society, companies will try to hijack your attention. The goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to be consistent. There will be days when you fail. There will be days when you wake up and check your phone immediately. There will be days when you sit down for deep work and find yourself reorganizing your spice rack instead. When those days happen, do not beat yourself up. Do not say, "See? I can't do this." Instead, simply return to the center. Use the tools. Reset your environment. Clear your target. Control the next hour. Focus is like meditation. The work isn't just staying on the breath. The work is the act of returning to the breath when the mind wanders. Repeat this mantra. You become what you focus on. Every moment of every day, you are casting a vote for the person you want to become. If you focus on the trivial, you become trivial. If you focus on the meaningful, you become meaningful. If you focus on your excuses become your reality. The final call to action. The book is almost over. The audio is about to stop. In a few moments, you will have a choice. You will be tempted to just quickly check your messages or see what happened in the world while you were listening. Don't do it. I want you to take the momentum from this final chapter and use it. Right now. Don't put this book down and go back to your old life. Pick one target. Just one. It doesn't have to be big. It can be a 20-minute task you've been avoiding. Put your phone in another room. Clear your desk. Set a timer. And do that task with 100% of your being. Experience the discomfort of the start, push through the ugly middle, and reach the reward of the finish. Prove to yourself, right now, that you are the master of your attention. Closing. The world is noisy. It is chaotic. It is designed to keep you small, distracted, and reactive. It wants your data, it wants your money, and most of all, it wants your mind. But you have the shield. You have the sword. You have the knowledge. Go out and build something beautiful. Go out and master your craft. Go out and be present with the people you love. Your focus is your life. Guard it. Defend it. Spend it where it pays you back. Because in the end, you won't remember the thousands of hours you spent scrolling. You will remember the things you built, the goals you hit, and the person you became when you finally decided to stop letting the world decide your attention. Repeat these final mantras with me. What you don't defend, you lose. Depth beats speed. Design beats desire. Boredom is the doorway to mastery. Win the morning, win the mind. Stay longer than your excuses. You become what you focus on. The war for your mind is over. You have won. Now, get to work.